go ahead and get started. So you went down, no major issues or anything with the family. That's good.
Yeah, I took the dog down the Galveston. There was not too many people there, so we got to run around a little bit.
Oh, that's nice.
It's always good for the dog. I got him into groomer for some reason.
Oh no, I gotta let it go.
And it was cold. Man, it was cold out there. It was cold and damp with a 30-mile-an-hour wind.
Oh, that's pretty cold.
It's cold.
I'm assuming the boys enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, my oldest has 2 steps on. One of them is 12, and one of them is 18. And he's going to. What's in San Marcos? San Diego State.
Texas State maybe?
Maybe, yeah. So he's going to.
Okay. I'm sure he's excited.
Yeah, he's freshman year. He's enjoying it. I think it was pretty soft working on this quarter. That's probably a pretty good bet. Started off as freshman as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of folks say hit the ground running, and I'm like, why don't you kind of ease yourself into it? Instead of hitting the ground with 19 credit hours.
19 credit hours, all in tough courses, you know. Don't even. I went to junior college, so and I probably wouldn't have made it if I hadn't gone to junior college. There was a lot of. You know, I went to a very rural high school in Florida. You know, it gave you a lot of time to grow up and get more practice in the skills that I needed to be able to go further. And that practice is real. If you can do the most complex algebra you've ever had, and you can do it second nature without making errors, you know, that's a pretty nice gift, you know, to move forward into the part where you have to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn how to do algebra, but sometimes if you try to learn how to do something else, you gotta go over trouble.
And that repetition, that practice builds up your confidence and everything else. I think that is paramount.
It's really helpful. I probably could do that back on the street.
In my opinion,
It
especially.
took me 5 years. At least one of those years was wasted on practice, as far as getting out.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that though, as well, because I always knew what I wanted to do, but for like one of my siblings and for other friends of mine and things, you really want an 18-year-old to say, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I'm going to study that right now. A few of us may know, but most 18-year-olds.
I had to change mine. I was in the wrong field.
What'd you start out with?
I started out when you become an optometrist. I had a lot of eye problems in my life, and I was pretty familiar with the operation. And it was kind of a softer medical area, you know, that I thought I might be able to prevail on. And I buddied up with a friend of mine. He was on the same path, you know, and between the freshman and sophomore year, we got in the car and drove to the optometry school and visited them. Looked at the curriculum and looked at the place and went all over everything and took the tour, you know. And we both of us got back in the car and said, not this.
Really?
This is nuts, you know. And I always encourage people to, you know, in those days that I was in school, they had a college catalog, you know, it was a catalog of all the courses and the required curriculum and optional courses and, you know, things like that, and how many credits you had to do to pass. And so I went through the college catalog, you know, when I was at the junior college. I just went through the catalog, when I said, there's courses here that I just hate. I hate to take these damn things. I think this is the most miserable thing I'd ever want to do, And then I said, well, let me find the ones that I do want to take, And so I read through them, and when I got done, I said, okay, well, what I need to do is change to pre-engineering, because these are the courses I want to take. And if you want to take it, if you're interested in it, it's a whole lot easier to prevail.
That is very true.
Than if you really couldn't care less,
That's very true. If you don't like the course, yeah, it's a lot harder to pay attention in it.
And in the junior college, everybody had to do their homework every day. It was required. You had to put it on the corner of your desk up here. The guy would walk around during the lecture and take a look at it and make sure you were doing it. And if you didn't have it, he'd say, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Go down to the registrar's office and withdraw. If you're not going to do this work, you're wasting your money, or you're wasting your parents' money, go down there, withdraw, and get out of here. Because you're not doing the work. You're not learning this stuff, get out. And a couple of them did, and a couple of them got busy doing their homework,
Wow. And I find that interesting that you gravitated towards the engineering classes. I remember in college, most of the folks were running away from engineering as a major. That was a tough major.
Well, it just has to be. It is a tough major, but I guess what I told my son's stepson, the thing about learning, actually learning something, where you're training your brain to do it, and do what it think, and do what it do, and do what it execute, I always found it to be really uncomfortable. That's terrible. Now, after you know it, it's great. But getting your head to embrace something new, a new way of thinking, a new thing, learning really is I found it to be very uncomfortable. But still, you say, that's what you want to do, and you kind of just embrace it and say, man, it's going to be tough sledding here. I think when I was last quarter of my senior year, I had an optional course to take that fitted the schedule going into my fall. Internal aerodynamics with viscosity.
Oh, wow.
It is compressibility. So when you say jet engine, compressible and viscosity. Just fit in the schedule, I think it's all the obvious things that this is that's the top. Those particular nature of courses are something I was particularly bad at. The line you tied on to a hard course with a bad case of senioritis, and it was slow going, I got out of it. I don't know, I can't remember. I got a C. Hope I got a C. It was a tough course. Not one that I was suited for. Some of the courses, I was before computers.
Mm-hmm.
So we have professional computer programs to simulate how to do everything. Mathematical models. They're very nice, good results. I'm very much in favor of it. We didn't have those things, so we just had the math. You had to do the math.
You had to do the calculations by hand.
Not a whole lot of them that you could actually do, that come up with an answer. And many of them are just difficult,
Wow. I couldn't imagine doing some of those by hand. Then if you have the practice and the repetition, it's probably almost second nature at that point.
No.
I try to make myself feel better.
Not for me. So you can if you say linear algebra 1, you can see cars going down the road and equations like that, of speed and velocity and time and things like that. They're all very tangible kind of concepts, and you can, momentum and stuff like that. You can apply the laws and you can apply calculus and you can do things to it, and it all stays pretty real. But if you get into fluid dynamics, where there's what do you call it, just fluid dynamics, just air, air flowing around, it's you have to go into what's called complex variables, which is differential equations with complex numbers in the, so they're imaginary numbers, imaginary complex numbers in the variables, and differential equations that describe these phenomena, and there's not very many of them that you can describe. Flow over a cylinder, flow over a sphere, flow over half a cylinder, very, very specialized geometry, that you can work make the equations for. And it's hard.
Okay. Yes, I was barely keeping up with your.
Flow or anything like that. It's just math. And, it just wasn't a course that I got credit for. It said you got credit for taking complex variables from the math department. You just took 4 weeks of it from the engineering department. And I said, whoa. And we did a little bit of work with the wind tunnel. We had a wind tunnel, and so we had a little wing that everybody, we ran the wind tunnel and took the measurements, and teams of 3, and each team of 3 was required to calculate 3 points on the graph of the coefficient of lift, coefficient of drag, coefficient of moment, and we worked on it forever, and turned it all in. We're all wrong. Nobody got anything right. Back in the time of World War II, especially in the build-up to World War II, in the early part, they did a lot of work with trying to figure out the lifts and airfoils, and at the time they were moving from those old World War I wooden planes, to the 51 Mustang and the Flying Fortresses and those things. And so they took armies of engineers with the old thing. Armies of engineers running those things, and they did those calculations, and checked the calculations, and they made curves which are published today, and you can get them today that show all the coefficients of lift, drag, and moment for all different kinds of airfoils, all the standard airfoils, all the custom airfoils, and all the things that they tried to do. And we tried to do 3 points on one wing. I couldn't do it. I mean, I don't think anybody got any points right.
Oh wow!
It's just so burdensome with the calculations. They're just hours and hours and hours and years of complicated calculations. And if you make an error,
the whole thing's wrong.
The whole thing's wrong.
Now, when you say you don't think anyone got anything right, anyone in your group or anyone in the class?
Anyone in the class. I don't think anyone got any. It's just so burdensome. We're slide rules and hand equations that you write by hand. Write them out by hand, and if it takes 3 or 4 lines or half a page on your thing to write the equation, then you do an operation with it. It takes another half a page to write the next equation, and then pretty soon you got 10 pages, and it's supposed to be all wrong. It was difficult.
Wow. I guess.
And maybe that was the lesson we were supposed to learn. That this old-time meticulous hand research on wind tunnels was hard. Now we have the math model programs for wind tunnels, and they run the models in the wind tunnel, and then they run the models on the computer, and then they run the models in the wind tunnel, and then validate what their computer model is saying.
Okay.
And they do a pretty good job. When I was there, you'd given us, if we had to make an airplane, we would have just been trial and error. We wouldn't have been any hardly better than the Wright brothers.
Oh my goodness. That is remarkable.
Well, we had one course. It was more not quite so cerebral, you know, but it was airplane stability and control, where it taught, you know, how it taught a lot about airplanes and what makes them fly, what makes them fly unstable, what makes them fly stable, different modes of instability, you know, and what to do about it, you know, and you know, that was a pretty interesting course, and I had a good time with that one because I had made a lot of airplane models that flew, and I had experienced a few of those instability problems in models that I built, you know, and so I said, oh shit, here it is, ready to book. You know, you don't have to trial and error this, you just look in the book, it tells you what you did wrong. And so that was kind of a nice course.
And I remember the story you were telling me. You were trying to pinpoint something with like a laser on another building or something of the sort. That was
in a junior college in physics. Yeah, the guys, you know, we had tried to measure the speed of light using a laser sitting in one building, and it went across the campus to another building, and where there's a mirror, and then it came back to a receptacle, you know, and it was hooked up on an oscilloscope, so you could try to get the time difference of how far it went from there to there, and they were successful in their endeavor, you know, but the point that I thought that was the best to learn, you know, you have to aim it so that it hits the mirror, and then the mirror hits back, and then the guy said, well, you just, you know, when you gotta make your adjustments on the aiming with a pipe wrench, you made a big mistake, you know.
Yeah, we're pretty off in the beginning.
Yeah,
oh,
we don't,
goodness.
you know, you need some kind of fine tuning.
Fine tuning, yeah.
With something that's better than kind of adjustable.
Well, I'll tell you, man, your engineering students are. Well, I remember even as a senior biology major, and the engineering students were like these bright-eyed, bushy-tailed freshmen that were just breezing through calculus 3, and the rest of us were just like, oh my gosh, how does this end?
Yeah, I know, that's you know, we had the guys coming back from Vietnam, and those guys were always made life uncomfortable, you know, because the rest of us, you know, I was a professional student, you know, been going for years and years, but you know, I still entertained other parts of life. You know, I had Saturday night, you had to go out and try to find a date, you know, and do some things that are fun in life a little bit, you know, and the Vietnam guys, man, there's nothing but serious with them. They came to go. They'd been to the dark side and wanted to get out of there, you know. They wanted to, they had tough competitors.
They did not play about their work. I appreciate that, and also, yeah, you got to have a little bit of a life.
Yeah, they were just really very dedicated students. Very dedicated.
Did you keep in contact with any of those guys after school, or not really?
One of the guys was a fraternity brother. You know, he's done okay. You know, I mean, he made it in life just like most of us. You know, he got married and had a family, and I see him every year or so, year or two.
Oh yeah, when you go back down.
He didn't seem to suffer PTSD too bad, other than he was kind of a rough guy, you know.
Yeah, I forgot you go down probably once a year, correct? Just
Well,